All right, guys, so it looks like BLM is back. And when I say that they're back, I mean that they're back, okay, with their original protest, right, over police brutality, okay, in the city of Minneapolis, which was the start of the whole George Floyd protests and riots and stuff like that happened after that incident. Now, the reason why BLM is back is because there was another shooting of a black man in Minneapolis that caused the woke revolutionaries to get upset. This time involving Mr. Amir Locke, who was the victim of a fatal shooting during a no-knock raid by the Minneapolis Police Department in his apartment. Now, what happened was that the Minneapolis Police Department was serving a no-knock warrant. They didn't knock. They just came into the apartment, and Amir Locke was in the apartment asleep, and he was sleeping with a gun. Now, as the police, barge in, they basically wake Amir up. Amir gets up with the gun, okay, in his hand, and the police officers basically shoot him on the spot. If you see the body cam footage, it's pretty bad, right? It's pretty bad. It looks pretty bad for the police. That's what I'm saying. So let's talk about it. As BLM is back once again, and unsurprisingly, they're calling for violence, like just flat out calling for violence because of this. So before we get in that, I just want to let you guys know, if you want to support my channel, there's plenty of ways to do so using the links in the description. You can support the Patreon, you can support the PayPal, you can support the merch. There are plenty of ways to support the channel if you like to support. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll this news clip of what happened in this situation. And then after that, we're going to roll a clip showing some of the protesters outside basically calling for violence because of this incident. Take a look.
A large crowd gathered in downtown Minneapolis today protesting the deadly police shooting of Amir Locke. Chopper 5 gives us a view from above of the group marching down several streets. Many say they're outraged after the 22-year-old was killed earlier this week. Richard Reeve was at today's rally and has their message.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
With their signs and voices,
They don't get no peace!
I'm here because I want to be alive and not another hashtag.
hundreds of people gathered outside the government center to protest the deadly police shooting of Amir Locke.
Every single time it's that feeling of like it could have been my cousin, my brothers, my friends.
Family members say Wednesday morning, Locke was sleeping at his cousin's apartment. Police say officers with a no-knock warrant entered.
Police search warrant! Police search warrant!
Body camera video seconds later shows Locke starting to get up with a gun in his hand. One officer fired 3 rounds, fatally wounding Locke. 16-year-old Mercy here thinking about Locke's family.
I'm kind of numb, but I think it's important just to show our support and just know that we're here for them and that they matter and we care.
Locke's family members were here, calling for city leaders to take action.
You should be outraged. You should be outraged, and you, not us, not your people out here, should say enough is enough.
But many here calling for Mayor Jacob Frey, interim police chief Amelia Huffman to resign, for the officers involved to be fired and prosecuted, and for a permanent ban on no-knock warrants.
We need to block no-knock warrants specifically because they're an ambush.
No-knock warrants do more harm than good. And with that being said, one innocent life is one life too many. They should be permanently banned.
Huffman was unavailable for comment today. She last spoke about the shooting Thursday.
That's the moment when the officer had to make a split-second decision to assess the circumstances and determine whether he felt like there was an articulable threat, that the threat was of imminent harm, great bodily harm or death, and that he needed to take action right then to protect himself and his partners.
Protesters here say they hope lawmakers out there are listening and willing to make change.
I want them to take it as importantly as we do because these are our lives, these are our family, and these are our brothers, these are our kids, these are our friends, and it's important.
And today, Mayor Frey released a statement reiterating that he's imposed a moratorium on both the request and execution of no-knock warrants in Minneapolis. The mayor says that moratorium will remain in effect while his office and policy experts study the issue. Frey says the only exception is if there is an imminent threat of harm to an individual or the public, and in that case, the warrant must be approved by the chief of police, Brett.
Richard Reeve reporting. Rich, thank you. The Police Officers Federation of Minneapolis, which is the union that represents the officers, says no conclusions should be made on the case until the investigation is complete. In a statement released today, the union says in part, quote, "No officer goes into a dangerous setting like this wanting to use a weapon. That decision was not taken lightly, and the impact of the use of deadly force will affect these officers, their families, and the family of Mr. Locke for the rest of their lives."
Lynched under his blanket, killed in less than 9 seconds by an MPD death squad. Since the lynching of George Floyd, Dalal Eid, Dante Wright, Winston Smith, and now Amir Locke, nothing has changed. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think Derek Chauvin is inside a jail cell right now? That is why. The reason why is because we burned down that precinct. No amount of peaceful protest will get us to justice in this cruel, grotesque, settler, colonial, white supremacist society. No amount of reform is enough. Only complete and total abolition. Feel your anger fully. Be mad. Be mad. Because your anger is justified. Build barricades. Burn precincts. Reappropriate what they've stolen for you for thousands of generations. Most of all, show love to one another. Radical love. And show absolute hate to those who oppress us. Power to the looters. Power to the rioters. Say his name! Say his name! Say his name!
All right, guys, so you've seen that, you heard that, and I hope you guys kind of understand the gist of what happened with this Amir Locke situation. Basically, the police served a no-knock warrant. They came in, woke him up. The dude got up. He had a gun in his hand, and the police shot him, right? Almost immediately. Now, if you guys want to see the actual body cam footage, is out there. You can easily find it. I'm not going to play the whole thing for various reasons, but if you want to find it, it's out there, okay? Now, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Looking at that body cam footage, at least initially, right? Knowing what we know, it's pretty bad, right? And what I mean by it's pretty bad is that it looks pretty bad for the Minneapolis police, okay? Because, you know, I mean, you're serving a no-knock warrant, and it's not like it's a crime for, you know, somebody in his own house to be sleeping with a weapon, okay? He was sleeping with a gun, okay? A gun that he had legally, a legal gun. The guy, as far as I know, his name was not on the warrant. Now, there's not that much information about the warrant out there because it's been sealed, because this is a ongoing homicide investigation. But what we do know is that his name was not on it. So he was not really a person of interest, so it seems, okay, for the police. He just kind of seemed to be an innocent person who got caught up in it, okay? He doesn't have a criminal record or anything like that. Again, as far as I know, I could be wrong. So at this point, again, it does look pretty bad, okay? And it does spark a conversation about the use of no-knock warrants because, listen, I understand from the police perspective in that situation, right? Somebody gets up, you know, with a weapon, with a gun, you know, you got a split-second decision to make, right? It kind of reminds me of that incident with Adam Toledo, right? The boy that was running through Chicago on the streets at like 2 a.m. in the morning with the cop chasing him, right? Dude got a gun, okay? And I think he, like, I don't know, dropped the gun or something like that. But he turned around when he stopped running and kind of put his hands up or whatever, and the cop shot him on the spot, okay? So, you know, in a situation like that, again, that is a split-second decision from the police officers. Like, okay, is it going to be my life or their life, right? Would I rather shoot first, ask questions last, or risk getting shot and, you know, not making it home to my family? So, again, I understand for police officers, that is an incredibly tough situation. So I think that situations like that do warrant a legitimate conversation about the use of no-knock warrants and whether or not they should be used, right, as much as they're being used. Again, without more details in regards to why this apartment was under investigation or of interest, it's hard to really speak on it too much, right? But I will say, just based off the body cam footage, it seems like, yeah, there needs to be an investigation into this, and you know, we need to kind of find out more information, okay? Now, The problem is that it's hard to have those conversations, right? It's hard to have those conversations when there seems to be legitimate instances of police wrongdoing, because you have protesters out here calling for violence, right? This dude is just flat out saying like, yeah, we got Derek Chauvin locked up because we burned down a precinct, right? Because we use violence, okay? And by the way, speaking of Derek Chauvin, it is rumored that Judge Cahill, the judge that presided over the Derek Chauvin trial, he signed off on that search warrant, right? It's kind of crazy how this stuff works, okay? So yeah, this guy's just flat out saying, yeah, because we use violence, we got our way. And in my opinion, guys, that really summarizes the issue with the police brutality conversation and, you know, our criminal justice system, okay? These people know they've been emboldened and they've been empowered to use violence as a means of getting justice, right? And they think that it works, right? They think that it works because of what we have allowed in the past and what we have tolerated, okay? For the life of me, I don't understand how in the world do parents who are protesting at school board meetings, you know, end up being of interest to the FBI, but this guy, right, who's on camera calling for violence, right, he's not of interest to the FBI, right? When you ask the FBI about BLM, well, nothing to investigate, nothing to look into. When these people are actively calling and celebrating violence, okay? But again, my point really is that when these people do this, you can't have a real conversation about the policies, right? You can't have any real conversations about solutions because them calling for violence diverts the conversation away from that. And now it's about, okay, why are you calling for violence, right? Why are you doing this? You know, violence is not justified in situations like this. I get it. I understand. I'm with you, at least initially right now. Yeah, it looks pretty bad for the police. Okay, but does that justify burning down neighborhoods, looting stores? No, it doesn't. You have to let the process play out, okay? And I have no issues with people that are peacefully protesting saying, hey, you know, this is an issue, right? But I will say this. I find it fascinating how people can come out the woodwork for an incident like this, which, hey, look, at least initially, from what we know, it seems pretty bad for the police. But you know, when it comes to other black people that are being innocently killed on a day-to-day basis in the streets by criminals, crickets, right? They ain't got no smoke for that, right? There's no protests and riots about that, right? It seems like all these people come out of the woodworks talking about, oh, I feel like my life is in danger when it comes to police. When statistically speaking, your life really is in danger from the others around you, right? People that look like you around you. That's statistically speaking who you really should be worried about, okay? Again, I find it fascinating how that works. Now, again, I'm not trying to take away from this issue in this situation. I'm not trying to do that. I'm simply saying I just find it fascinating how, you know, during a time in which we have unprecedented crime, murders up across the country in all these major liberal cities, BLM and people show up talking about, I feel like my life is in danger over an incident where a police officer kills a black person, right? But again, when you have black people being killed in the street every single day by other black folks, you know, I ain't really got nothing to say about that. Again, where people put their energy, right, when they're talking about my life is in danger, again, I just find it fascinating how, again, these people seem to be so concerned for their lives when it comes to police, but not necessarily when it comes to being out here in the streets, right? When statistically speaking, you're much more likely to be killed by some random criminal in the streets than you are by the police. I'm just saying. But again, regardless, BLM, as you can see there, they're back, right? They're protesting in Minneapolis over this, and they're calling for violence over this, okay? And obviously, that is wrong. It should be condemned, and it should not be tolerated. These people need to be investigated, right? Again, in the ideal world, these people are investigated, and you get to the bottom of this before this thing really ratchets up. Because if this story catches fire, right, in the national news, which it might, right? Because, I mean, it's been a long time coming here, right? They've been pretty silent for a long time. If it catches fire, this is what we could see all over again. Because, again, this situation right here, while not as, you know, shocking as saying, you know, what happened to George Floyd, again, it's a situation that has sparked protests in Minneapolis, okay? So We'll see. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.